What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for you rascals and rapscallions out there. Now, for today's video, I figure we will talk about a film that I just seen for the very first time last night, and that is 1990's The Exorcist 3. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Out of all the movies I own, all the horror flicks I've talked about, how have I never seen The Exorcist 3? And I kind of think of it like, you know when somebody like kind of hype something up so much to the point you don't want to see it. I think this is where this movie went for me over all the years. I'm not the biggest fan of like exorcism movies. I love The Exorcist Part 1. I respect the hell out of it, but everybody kept telling me this is better than the original. It's the best horror sequel of all time. So it kind of had me like, plus it has kind of a crime element in there. I'm not the biggest fan of that in my horror, but I will say, quick thoughts, the phrase sleep on it. I literally did, and I feel the same as I did last night. This movie fucking rules. You guys were right. Now, I don't know if this is the greatest horror sequel of all time, but it's pretty close up there. This one definitely deserves the respect it gets, especially seeing how it came out in 1990. The 90s wasn't the best time for horror, as you guys know. But anyways, we'll get right into the plot if you guys have never seen this movie. It follows a cop played by George C. Scott, an old-time actor, which I absolutely loved his performance in this. He is an old-time detective who is best friends with this priest, and they're mourning the death of their friend, the priest from the original 15 years ago. And as this is all going on, their interactions, there are some murders going on where it looks like it's traits of this Gemini killer that got executed 15 years prior to that in an electric chair. There's certain traits that he does that only the Gemini killer would know. And the detective is kind of stringing together all of these clues and everything, investigating this and whatnot, until he comes to the conclusion that he thinks the Gemini killer has possessed the body of an inmate that's locked up like in a nut house or some shit like that. And yeah, and he's got to try to solve the mystery of all this and whatnot. And this one is a fucking trip right off the bat. I loved most everything about this movie. This was really, really good. Very creepy movie. It's hard to find a movie these days that kind of creeps me out. I find the ones that kind of get me the most are films about religion or exorcism, because everybody has some form of faith or religion, something to an extent that you can relate to. Or alien movies kind of fucking freak me out. You guys ever seen The Fourth Kind? That movie's fucking weird. But yeah, this was really good. What I found with this film, especially in the first act, which I'm weird with this, I felt like the first act midway through the movie into like the second act a bit was better than the final act, if that makes sense. And a lot of times that would ruin a movie for me, but it didn't for this film because it just was so consistent. And it doesn't hurt that this movie really got going off the rip. And what this film has that I really loved was there's a bit of a charm. And I go back to George C. Scott. I think it comes a lot with his performance. This is a guy who's been around the block and has been an actor for many, many years. He's passed away since this film, 9 years after the fact. But I feel like this is a movie this guy could have totally just phoned in, but he didn't. He really gave a pretty passionate performance. And his relationship with the priest in the first act, I really love their dynamic of them as friends. Like, one of my favorite lines in the movie was this priest in the beginning. He's like talking to like some killer or something, and some other guy's asking him, "What did you say to him? What did you say to him?" He says, "Oh, God forgives you, but the rest of us think you're a fucking asshole." That's a pretty funny line. And there's a scene where they go to the movie theater together, which I really like because one guy tells his family the same thing that the other guy says. Someone says, "You're going out to a movie to see A Wonderful Life with that cop?" "Oh, yeah, it's the most depressing day of the year for him. I'm cheering him up." And then it cuts to the detective talking to his family. He goes, "Oh, I got to cheer that priest up." So kind of reminds me of like some of my close friendships where like they're there for each other and everything. So that part had like a charm to it. Just these two old dudes being good buddies and everything. And the fact that one's a priest and one's a cop and they both aren't perfect, they're kind of rough around the edges, makes it kind of fun and relatable to an extent. But yeah, we move forward with a lot of these killings, and there's some pretty gruesome and spooky shit. Like this old woman who's in the confessional saying like, "I cut this man's throat and killed him." She ends up killing the priest. And what ends up happening is the detective is pretty determined that this is the Gemini killer, and everybody thinks he's nuts. He tells them, what was the thing that the Gemini killer did? He cut off the middle finger on the left hand and carved his Gemini sign in their back. He says, that's only what we told the media, because every whack job that comes into town to confess is going to say, "I'm the Gemini killer and I did this." But really what he did is cut off the index finger on the right hand and carve into the left hand, and only like government officials or the Gemini killer would know this. So he kind of linked all that up together. So we move forward to the point that he finally gets to talk to this guy that's locked up, that they think is possessed with a Gemini killer. And this is kind of like one of the weakest but best points in the movie, if that makes sense for me at least, because this killer, while he's talking to the priest, very similar to how the girl was talking to the priest in the original, where they have the dialogue back and forth, kind of a highlight of the series. Besides part two, I think that's a big reason I never checked this out, because part two fucking blows. But anyways, so he starts, the guy in the insane asylum or whatnot in the nut house starts kind of interchanging between him and the Gemini killer, and it doesn't really make it clear if it's reality or it's just in the mind games to the detective or whatnot. But he keeps switching to Brad Dourif, who's best known for voicing Chucky in all the Child's Play movies, the entire franchise, and he is unbelievable in this role. It's fucking crazy to me to think that I've never seen this. Such a big fan of Child's Play, and what Child's Play came out, all three, the original three came out years apart, very close, 88, 89, 90, something like that. I know two of them came out less than a year apart, I think part two and part one. But just to think that Brad Dourif had this performance as the Gemini killer in 1990, like, what a fucking run he had in that short amount of time. And I'll tell you what, the reason I say it's kind of boring to me a little bit, this is one of the flaws of the movie for me, is it just goes on so long with this dialogue. And it reminds me of like a Bray Wyatt promo sometimes. He's kind of saying a lot but not saying nothing. But at the same time, Brad Dourif's performance is so captivating and it's chilling. Like, he just draws you in. He's literally crying and almost weeping while he's like confessing all these sins and evilness to this priest. And this shit is just absolutely crazy all around. I don't really want to give away the ending. If you guys want to check this out, it's actually free on Pluto right now. You can watch it. I highly suggest it. Very creepy shit. Very on tone to the original. I have the Scream Factory 4K they just put out, which that's another gripe of mine. Scream Factory, start putting out new releases. These motherfuckers just keep putting out all their Blu-ray releases again on 4K, which is fine, but we don't want to double dip for everything, you know? Luckily for me, I never picked up part 3, and this was one I meant to pick up for the longest time. And when the 4K came out, this was the time to do it. I also don't really care for they don't have reversible slips on their 4Ks, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. It's literally a first world problem, but if you guys want to see the special features and whatnot, I'll show you. This is a 3-disc set. The first disc is the theatrical cut in 4K. The second cut is the theatrical cut on Blu-ray with a bunch of special features, and then the disc 3 is the director's cut with even more special features. So there you are right there. If you want to freeze frame that, pause it and check it out. But yeah, this is pretty good, especially seeing like how a lot of these boutique labels, like for example, Scream Factory can put out Creepshow 3 for fucking $30 on Blu-ray. And I'll tell you what, when we talk about horror sequels, and especially the third in a franchise, Creepshow 3 doesn't hold up to Exorcist 3. I'll just say that. Creepshow 3 fucking blows. But what I like about the 4K releases is this is cheaper than that. I believe this was $25 on Amazon. Now, for a 4K, a 3-disc edition, I will pay that, you know, especially with the 4K and the Blu-ray and all the special features. Definitely a good deal when it's 4K. And I must say, I was talking to somebody at work last night. I work second shift, and I was telling them about this movie. They know I'm into horror, and they go, oh, you like all the old stuff. And for one, it's funny for me that's a fan of 70s and 80s and stuff even older than that. You know, I think the oldest movie in my collection is Nosferatu, which is over 100 years ago. For somebody to say a movie from 1990 is old. Maybe I'm just getting old, but that's not old. Like Tom Savini once said, no movie is old if you've never seen it before. And with this 4K restoration, it definitely does not look old. This looks amazing. I got a 65-inch 4K I watched this on, and visually it was stunning and unbelievable. And that's another reason to pick this up as well. If you have the Blu-ray and you really like this, that was only a 2K scan. This is an actual 4K scan on the Ultra HD disc. So, well worth it. I started watching the special features last night. They have a 5-part documentary, but I fell asleep. Falling asleep to The Exorcist, you know, the life of a horror fan. But anyways, yeah, I just want to hop on here real quick and talk about this film with you guys. I really had fun with this. It was great. Like I said, my only gripe really is how it got a little slow in that dialogue scene. Other than that, this checks all the boxes, especially how I'm not really a fan of like crime movies unless it's like a mafia or hood movie or something. I don't really like a lot of detective investigation shit in my horror flicks, but this worked really good. And I think what really drives this one home is the performances. You know, everybody in this movie is cast perfectly, and the acting is great. Very creepy overtone. They stay true to the original. This movie is great and legitimately pretty scary at some points. And I forgot to mention, this is Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite horror movie. So there's that. But with that being said, let me know if you guys have ever seen this. Let me know what your favorite exorcism kind of movie is. And let me know any films you think I should check out in the future. I am game for whatever. I know I've been kind of slow on the pickups lately. But, you know, the more and more you collect, man, you tend to get most everything you're looking for. And I know I'm going to get that Linnea Quigley horror workout bundle and all that. Uh, there's a lot of fun stuff coming out soon that I want to pick up. But other than that, yeah. Hopefully you guys are doing good, having a great weekend, watching some good horror flicks. Also, let me know what horror films you've seen lately in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun jazz. Anyways, yep, Blood Guts Gore. I'll check you guys next time.